America has seen him share his affections on The Bachelorette, but it's passion for finance that spawned a decade-long career in banking, a best-selling book, and a chart-topping podcast.
Yeah, Talk Money to Me is his latest book where he writes about the 8 essential financial questions to discuss with your partner. So please welcome Jason Tartick back to the Pick 7 Morning News. Great to have you here.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Book number 2.
Yeah,
so
book number 2.
Let's talk. Congratulations. Let's talk about the research that went into writing this book that makes you the expert in financial advice.
Well, I had 10 years in banking,
Yeah.
an MBA in accounting and finance, and have had extenuating experience lending money, hundreds of millions of dollars. But where I was like is like, how can we take relatable things and bring them to light in this book? So of all the things I've done on social media in 6 years, I've never got more of a response when I asked the question, do you know someone that you loved or someone that you saw deal with any type of financial fraud in relationships? It was the #1 response I got from anything I've ever done.
Really?
And so researching a lot of the people through this was very helpful in writing a book like this.
And you say that talking about finances in relationships is a must.
It's a must. Yeah. Well, what we know is it's the second leading reason for divorce. The first one being infidelity. And when there's financial infidelity, we know there's a correlation to infidelity. So the top 2 reasons why people are getting divorced are connecting to money issues. We also know that 50% of couples, married and cohabitating, don't feel comfortable talking about it. And 75% of them say it creates material tension in the relationship. So the numbers show that if we don't talk about it and we leave a gray area, we're leaving ourselves susceptible for relationship
But if
issues.
you haven't talked about it by the time you got married, that's issue number 1.
Correct.
Because I'm single, but I'm just saying, like, if it should be, how do you bring it up early on in a relationship about salaries or whatever it might be if you're getting into that serious part? To say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to lay it all on the table. Yeah.
I always say it's never too late, because you are right. There are a lot of married couples listening to this right now. They're like, I don't know where we stand. I don't know where the accounts are or the balances. I say that we weren't taught money. We certainly weren't taught how to talk about money. So we need to stop bringing negative connotation, shame, and blame to money. So even on a first date, you could start to have fun conversations. Like, all right, where do you think I overspend? And unless I go broke, I'm going to continue to overspend. Take a guess, right? And now you're laughing, right? Or if I say, okay, you win $10,000 right now, you got to spend every dollar. How are you going to spend the $10,000? You might spend it much differently than you. And now I know a little bit about how you prioritize money. So you can start to have fun conversations with money as opposed to like, what's your credit score, how much debt you have.
Yeah.
Right?
But what is your credit score?
But that is
Do you
important.
have a 401k? But what's the answer to those questions that you would tell someone, okay, get up, say you need to go to the bathroom and run?
I would tell them that if someone's lying through their finances, do it. If someone's being vulnerable and showcasing the red flags, that's a green flag, because most people in finance have been taught to bury it. But if you address your red flags in finance more than anything, you can quickly solve it. And we automatically think, bad credit score, bad person. No, I know many multimillionaires that have a 400 or 500 credit score. We think spender, bad. No, there's actually a lot of good things with spenders. So my idea is that we judge and shame with money, because that's what we are taught, and we mislabel people. And that is just not the way to go about building productivity and like a healthy and wealthy relationship.
Okay, so now you're in the relationship, you're married, right? You got kids and everything else. How are you discussing money, financial planning? Do you have a joint account? Do you have separate accounts plus a joint account? What's the advice you give people?
I say if you have 2 working couples, you should have your individual accounts but visibility to both. And then you should have a joint account that you decide what you're going to contribute on a monthly basis, and you use that for all split costs, vacations, dinners, etc.
Okay.
But if you have, income that is substantially different from one another, you could say, all right, we're going to put $1,000 in there a month. Your income's 2 times more than me, you'll put 2 times more. But the idea is transparency, compromise, and understanding. Because again, I might prioritize the way I spend or earn in a different way than my partner. And if we don't see eye to eye on that, instantly resentment's built. And what's crazy is I said 75% of couples say that money creates material tension in the relationship. Over half of them said that there's decreased intimacy because of money issues. So it's all from gray area, resentment, not understood because we're not talking about it.
Right.
See, when people are watching at home, or even sitting here in the studio, when you talk about it and you say it's difficult to bring up this conversation in a new relationship, but even for those that have been in long relationships that have never spoken about it, it would be even hard for them as well. And then how do you bring it up in that situation?
It's extremely hard, right? But I think the worst thing we could do is wait. And when you think even like a prenup, one of the toughest conversations to have. The big thing is we all have a prenup. It's just our state laws. So I think stepping into like, hey, what would happen if X, Y, and Z? And if you are married and you are a caretaker, one thing you should think about is possibly a postnup, which is a conversation that could be had after you get married. Because if you are a caretaker, you're putting your career on hold, you're putting your earnings at hold, and if things don't work out, which we know 50% of the time they don't, your earnings are going to take a massive hit. So
the financial infidelity part is that when someone is using their money, spending their money without the other one knowing, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, where'd you get that from? Or where'd this come from? Or where'd all the money go?
It's literally material cheating through money. We're not talking about a cup
But
of
not
coffee.
telling that.
And hiding, manipulation, and cheating. What % of married or cohabitating couples do you think have at least one partner committing financial infidelity?
It's got to be a high amount.
Take a shot. Guess.
80%.
You don't trust anybody. 80%.
Somewhere in the 50s.
43%.
Okay.
But that's,
You made it sound like it was going to be really bad. So
I set it up like that. No, but that's 43% substantial. It's substantial.
It is, yeah.
What would you say is the most important question to ask someone then?
Yeah, so I think visibility. If you are married and you understand your net worth, we all have a net worth. If you understand your net worth, it's the full picture of debt, what's being spent, what's being earned. You could check in on your net worth 2 times a year. It'll take you an hour. And in general, that number should be going up. And unless there's big changes in your relationship that you're aware of or spending, there shouldn't be anything outlying. And the idea here is visibility. If you have visibility, then there's less susceptibility for any type of financial infidelity.
And now we see why his podcast is doing so well.
Yeah. Listened to you talk for a while. This is great stuff.
Yeah.
Jason, good stuff. Thank you for being here. What's the book called?
Talk Money to Me.
Talk Money to Me. There you go.
Thank you.
And
for
it's
having me.
available now wherever books are sold, so go check it out.
Perfect. Good stuff.